Well, hello. Welcome back. Hope you guys are doing awesome. This week's video is gonna be a little bit more in the vlog style. I think I will go ahead and take you guys with me on a walk. I am going to use today's walk as an opportunity to get more familiar with my new camera. If you haven't seen it, I did an unboxing video of my Canon M50 and a bunch of other vlog equipment. It is in one of these corners. Some things I want to try to work on today are getting different kinds of B-roll, swapping out different lenses for that, trying to get creative shots, trying to shoot some slow motion, and also getting more comfortable with vlogging publicly, out in the open, in nature. Typical millennials that are filming everything they're doing. So let's just see how this goes. And hopefully you will find this helpful if you are also wanting to jump into vlogging or you are wanting to get more comfortable with your camera, whether it's a Canon M50 or not. So without further ado, let's go. So I was gonna start at about 9 a.m. today, is like when I was hoping I would start walking. It's now probably about 2 p.m., so probably the worst time you could possibly be filming during the day outside. And I have already interacted with my first crotchety person who, as I walked by him, said, "What are you doing?" I thought he said, "How are you doing?" So I was like, "I'm fine." He was like, "No, what are you doing?" It's like, making a video. So far, so good, right? So if everything I'm shooting right now just looks like utter crap, I may go out later, closer to sunset, and get a lot better footage. So I have been basically over the last few weeks poring over tons of tutorials to learn more about cameras, specifically about the M50, but even basics that I've never learned before. I have been learning a lot about frame rates. I've learned so much since my first video. I'm embarrassed that I even incorporated, footage taken at different frame rates, not understanding that if you export your project in a specific frame rate, it's gonna make all of your other frame rates look wonky. Basically, your 24 frame per second frame rate is your most kind of cinematic, as they call it. It's the closest thing to what the human eye sees. Your 30 frames per second is going to be a little bit better for vlogging. If you're not doing too many cinematic things, maybe you're just a talking head sitting inside indoors, 30 frames per second is probably going to be just fine. And your higher frame rates like 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second, if you put those into a 24 frames per second timeline or project, or a 30 frames per second project, you're going to get slow motion and the effect is going to be really cool. But obviously, what I've learned is that you can't just shoot all different frame rates and then put them into one timeline and not realize, that your workflow is a mess. So basically, before you start your project, you need to know what frame rate you intend to shoot in, what is the style of the footage you're going for, and what's the most appropriate frame rate for you to use, realizing that your higher frame rates are going to primarily be for slow motion and that sort of thing. I really want to get the hang of what I'm doing before we go on our cross-country road trip. So I have been learning a bunch about frame rates, aperture, ISO, all the basics that I really should have known many moons ago. In just a few weeks, James and I are going to go all the way to New Hampshire and back. We are currently in Southern California, so we have some family stuff we're going to do there. We're going to stay at the family cabin for a little bit, and I'm really excited about getting some cool footage. Basically, your aperture is going to affect the depth of field in your shot. With your aperture, the lower the f-stop, the blurrier your background is going to be, the higher, the more you're going to see around you. And your ISO is going to affect your grain level in your footage, so you are going to want to have a lower ISO to combat that noise level that's going to be higher when it's up higher. And while you have the option to do automatic everything, basically, if you want to start out that way with your vlogging and have less to worry about. Probably a good idea. However, you have a lot more options when you put your camera in manual mode and adjust these settings accordingly. So an item I think I am going to purchase before our trip is a variable ND filter. Basically that works like sunglasses for your lenses. It controls the amount of light that comes into the lens and makes your colors more vivid. Basically just subdues harsh light, and they're pretty affordable, so I think I will try to invest in one of those before we leave. And then maybe at some point after our trip, I will try to experiment with different lenses. However, I am totally fine to just use the standard kit lens and my 50mm for now. I think that those are totally fine for everything that I'm doing at this time. And another setting I completely forgot to mention earlier, of course, is your shutter speed. Very important. Basically, the rule of thumb is to always double your frame rate. So if you are shooting at 24 frames per second, you're gonna wanna put it basically at 50 frames per second because you can't put it on 48. Same thing with, 60, you're gonna wanna put your shutter speed at 120. And for this week's vlog, I am going to edit with Adobe Premiere Pro. I have used it before. Typically when I don't have to, I will just use iMovie. However, I want to have a little bit more capabilities and be able to incorporate that slow motion well and effectively, so that's what I'm gonna do. Oh boy. So I'm definitely learning as I go with this whole vlogging adventure, even just today, because I brought my 2 fully charged batteries and, I started my day filming at about 8 a.m. or so, but it is already 4 p.m. and I have not finished all the shots I wanted to get done today. So I'm gonna have to go home, recharge my batteries, and probably come back out closer to sunset to get some better shots and finish up with what I wanted to say. So I'll probably see you guys a little later. All right, I am back from my little break. I went home and had some lunch and charged my batteries. Hopefully that'll do the trick because I wanted to shoot a few more things tonight now that's closer to sunset, so let's get going. Luckily last night I decided to park my car at the park where I ended up running out of batteries and then needing to go home and have lunch and recharge my batteries. It's probably one of the only things that I actually planned well for this video. Strategery. So this video wraps up my first month of weekly content / vlogs, and it's been interesting to say the least. I'm definitely finding that doing outdoor vlogs in public places is a lot more intimidating and scary, but you know what? It takes a little practice. I hope that doing this more often will give me a little bit more confidence. I think these kinds of skills can help you as a person in general and not be so self-conscious about what I'm seeing on the screen. Obviously for most of us, when we see ourselves on camera or hear ourselves in a recording, we're like, what the crap? But we just have to live with ourselves and hopefully just get more comfortable with who we are. I think that the whole start of this process of kind of jumping into having a YouTube channel or becoming a vlogger or content creator is just basically full of a lot of trying new things, trying to see what works, what doesn't work. Would you? It's a lot of experimentation and seeing how people respond. And with that being said, I want to be able to provide content that is valuable to an audience. So if you are watching and you find certain subjects that I've covered to be more effective and beneficial to you, let me know. Let me know in the comments. And when I started doing this, I was like, I don't want to be one of these people that's like, like and subscribe and ring the bell. But you know, there is a reason why that is helpful for people to do. It gives us an idea of which direction to go down. It doesn't hurt to kind of voice your opinion if you have one. Hopefully it's a nice one. So I will be continuing this next month. Excited to go on my road trip. So thank you so much for coming back if you've been watching the fiasco that is these last 4 videos. And if you're new here, welcome. I hope that maybe you are learning at least one new thing with each of these videos. So, as I said earlier, liking, subscribing, commenting is super helpful. It gives me an idea of what to do, how to move forward. But that's gonna do it. Thank you so much, guys, and see you next week.